blow it in the playoffs.
Welcome, everyone, to the Puck and Leafs podcast. I'm your host, Joe Choss, with the boys, Coach Frank and Bobby Bottles. And here we are. The Leafs are down 3-0 in the series to the Florida Panthers. It wasn't too long ago where I heard a lot of predictions, Leafs in 5, Leafs in 6. Nobody, and I mean nobody, thought that we would be in this spot as of right now. I don't know if anybody was listening to Overdrive today, but I thought Brian Hayes hit the nail on the head when he said that after the Maple Leafs had defeated the Tampa Bay Lightning, it felt like they had a gorilla lifted off their back, and they were going to be able to play so much looser and lighter and be able to just go on a run after that series. I felt it. Frankie, I know you felt it. A lot of people felt it. So to now be sitting here in this situation, down 3-0 in a series to the Florida Panthers, even as Leaf fans, we have to say we're pretty damn surprised. We did not see this one coming. We did not have this one on our bingo card. So let's talk about Game 3. What the heck was that last night?
I don't think there's words. Just surprising. Maybe, I guess, just it's funny because, Matthews comes out on that first shift, rings the bar, and maybe sets the tone for the game. And, they get a bottom six goal to start the game off. You can't ask for anything better than that. And then it was just oddly surprising. They had 3 shots for most of the first period, and lucky to come out with, just the way that the result was in the first period. And then you just thought to yourself, maybe they're just playing a conservative road game. But there was a point there that you'd hope in the second period they would start a little bit better than they did, in Game 2. And then it just snowballed from there as to say, are we going to do this again? Is this Montreal from 2021? That's the thought that I had in my head.
It was last night.
Sorry.
It felt like it last night.
That's where it's trending. It's I know the context is different, but the way I thought about it was, in all due respect to Florida, I'm thinking about from a standing standpoint. You have an inferior opponent in terms of points in the standings, definitely not in terms of skill, but you think you have an inferior opponent and you just don't show up. And it's the same finger pointing that we did back in 2021. It's Matthews. It's Marner. You couldn't say Tavares because unfortunately he was hurt, but somewhat Nylander. And dare I say, Joe, O'Reilly was not great last game either. And I think you gotta say to him as well. So I don't know, Joe. I've had the time to think about it. And are we really surprised anymore? We can be upset all we want, but are we really surprised? And that's where I am at here. I'm upset, but it's more just acceptance at this point.
I am surprised. I'm surprised that our 2 best players yesterday were David Kampf and Sam Lafferty. It's great to have depth players showing up for you, but when they're your best players, you cannot win that way. Can't do it.
No.
And the Leafs core 4 have 0 goals in this series. And you can say they're snake bitten and they've hit a lot of posts. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because when other goalies play well and against Edmonton and they're snake bitten, they hit posts, they just come back and they still produce. And this is, if it was a one-time thing, you could say, yeah, it happens in playoff hockey. But this is now 7 years running of the same thing happening where they're getting goalied or they're getting unlucky. At some point, you just got to find your way through it, like they did against Tampa. I am surprised. I did not see this coming. It's interesting. The first 2 games I thought could have gone either way in the series. Had they got a couple more breaks, yeah, they could be down 2-1. They could be up 2-1. That third game, the problem with going down 2-0 is that now you've given Florida a chance to have won a really good game themselves. And I thought Florida had a really good game yesterday. They played hard on the puck. They boxed out everything. They blocked shots like crazy. It was a tough game for the Leafs to play. And they still had a chance to win going into overtime. And then to see that, the way that overtime goal happened, Are we playing a pickup game here in September, like an exhibition game? Guy just skates through the zone. Nobody takes a body, dumps it around the back of the net. Brody again has a chance to take the body, doesn't do it, and it's in the back of the net.
And might I ask, and I think Bobby can answer this question. How did the winning goal start again? I believe it was what kind of pass, Rob? You recall?
It was a flick pass.
You got it. Flip pass from.
It was. You're right.
And Bobby and I talked about this on the last episode that they have trouble against that pass. Now, granted, Reinhardt did a tremendous job. He was actually waiting for a change. That guy actually was waiting for a change and had 4 leafs that he had to keep the puck, play pretty much keep away with the puck. But again, it started with a flip pass in their own zone, not being able to defend it, and it's in the back of your net. So I hate to say I told you so, but I'm getting really good at this game and not for the right reasons.
Brody, how you let a guy gain the line like that, and then Brody just got caught on the wrong side. I don't know what he was thinking chasing behind the net there. Like it was such an odd play, and as soon as it happened, it was like, oh, this is going to be bad. And you saw Walden, he couldn't find the puck, and that was that. I love this. I'm a big Brian Hayes guy. I'd love to say he's the first person to say what you said off the top, Joe, about the monkey off their back, but I believe Frank heard me say that with we're on Raw Mike Richards, that I thought they were going to play free and easy. Maybe they played just a little bit too free and too easy. Maybe that's been a problem, because when you get into these tight series, those little mistakes are magnified. I thought, again, for the second straight game, they had a pretty good start. They came out with a great game plan. The Leafs had a game plan of, we'll have the D have very little contact with the puck, and they're just going to move it north. You guys saw all the stretch passes. And those stretch passes do 2 things. They eliminate your D holding onto the puck, and they eliminate those blue line turnovers. And they played a pretty clean first period. And as the game went on, the D held the puck longer and longer and longer, and they started playing east and west, and then they got into that trouble again with the mistakes. And I believe Austin Matthews, I think the first goal, I believe there's a penalty, or that was the one that injured Samsonov. Bad turnover on one end, bang, bang, boom, it comes back, the penalty. Then they get a penalty kill. They're still up 1-0. Again, your guy's buddy, Justin Hall's out there. And I can tell you, in the course of the NHL season, I bet you can count on one hand how many times a team has been set up in a PK neutral zone setup and they've gotten a breakaway off it. To explain how inexcusable that is. And they're playing the 1-3, and I know Hall's probably not supposed to carry the winger to the middle, but maybe like give a little yellow to the guy in the middle, like, hey, like coming, whatever. Any sort of communication. His eyes are outside because that's probably his responsibility. How that happens at this time of year.
And it's not the first time, Bobby. It's happened in this playoff before.
They gave up like 4 breakaways on it was like,
yeah, declare 2 of them in a period.
It was unbelievable. And then Riley got called on the one that was a little bit of a chintzy one, but that was going to be another breakaway. Because he had a seam there. It's this. The forwards deserve all the blame in the world, no question. Because like Joe, you're 100% right. The 2 best players on the ice were Lafferty and Kemp, and that's a big time problem. But this defense core is horrific. You can't win with this group. This is as bad a decor as there is in the league.
No way. That is at a hyperbole of epic proportions.
They're awful. They are awful. And the saddest part, if you're a Leaf fan, is I'm going, Matthew Tkachuk hasn't been overly great on puck this series. Great forecheck, hasn't been overly great on puck. Barkov's had a couple goals, but I don't think he's been overly dominant either. And they're up 3-0. It's got to be really demoralizing if I'm you guys to just sit there and say, man, like it feels like they shouldn't be down 3-0, but I guess here we are.
It's demoralizing to see them score 2 goals every damn game for the last 5 games.
Yeah.
With this offense. And like you said, Frankie, we've seen this year in, year out in the playoffs where they have trouble scoring when teams defend really well. And, you know, we thought they figured it out against Tampa, and obviously they didn't, because here they are.
I really thought they were going to rally around Joe Wall, to be quite honest with you. Like, you think you would, you know, again, awful what happened to Samsonov. I still think he was playing hurt for a lot of the series regardless, but you have a chance now to rally against a kid who is a pretty damn good goalie, and I think he played quite well coming in into that game. But like,
he was the one silver lining of that game, Frankie. I thought he did excellent.
You know, how you don't use that as a rallying point, just there was no energy off that. And it's almost like they hung him out to dry. He made some point blank saves there. Like, that game should have never went to overtime, you know? And I wish I had the answers to sit here and say, well, it's this and it's that. I don't know, man. It's got to be a mental block of some sort. I just think, without being in the room there, like, don't tell me it's not leadership and guys standing up. That's bullshit. It's got to be holding each other accountable. And I think there's just so many fragile individuals in that room that, someone like Keefe can't go full Rick Bonus. You know what I mean? And just say, man, what the hell was that? Like, it's garbage, and hold them accountable in the media, and you're not seeing it anymore. It's just,
you wanted him to Rick Bonus them.
Sorry?
You wanted him to Rick Bonus them.
He can't do
it.
At this point,
before the season.
At this point, what does he have to lose? What does he have to lose?
His
Got
job.
one more game here. I mean, Rick Bonus did it after the season was over.
Doesn't matter. I don't think you have to rip them, but he did it. If you remember, Joe, against Arizona, he did it and then walked it back. Yep. That's why you won't see it, because something, behind the scenes and politically correct, and he couldn't hold them accountable anymore. But it should have been done, because you don't have to know a lot about hockey to know that whether you're a Leaf fan or not, what you got out of Tavares, Matthews, and Nylander was 100% unacceptable. And it doesn't need to be said, but it needs to be emphasized. I don't. We'll get to the next game, but I don't know, man. He couldn't change. And last thing on Keefe for me, if Marner and Matthews is not working, can somebody explain to me why in that game, at least Nylander was somewhat moving his feet? Why can't you try it? Go back to Matthews, Nylander. I don't care who's on the left wing. I don't give a shit if it was Lafferty on the left wing. Put Matthews and Nylander for the third or something. Try something. Why is he forcing Matthews? He's playing into Maurice's hands. You see that Barkov is matching up against that line. Get him away from that. Do something different. It's 11-7. Do you know how many combinations you can do with 11 forwards? And he's stuck to it. Bunting, Matthews, Marner. Honestly, buddy, thank God Gerald Gallant is available. Thank God Quenneville's available, because I'm going down that road right now, win or lose.
Isn't it frustrating, though? First it was, we got to get him away from Bergeron. And then it was, we got to get him away from Matthew Deneau. It's we got to get him away from Victor Hedman. At some point, if you're one of the best players in the league, it shouldn't matter who you're up against. You should just be able to perform regardless. Yeah. And I'm with you on the Keefe thing. He made adjustments everywhere else, but didn't touch Marner off Matthews' wing. I saw a stat today that was in just under 2 minutes of ice time together, Matthews and Nylander in Game 3, they had 4 shots for and 0 against. The rest of the time he was with Marner, he had 4 shots for and 18 against. They were on the ice for. So obviously it's not working, and they get these stats at the intermission. You know that their data analysts or whatever you want to call it give them these things. How do you not make that adjustment? Bobby, you said the Leafs were having success moving the puck north-south early in the game. Guess what Florida did? They adjusted. They made an adjustment, and that play did not work so much anymore, and that's why they had to go back east-west. Where are the adjustments being made for this team? I don't get it.
do you not feel like, just watching his body language, because they talk about the player's body language, that he just feels like he can't do anything? I get the vibe like that his hands are tied when it comes to a lot of these things. He just looks defeated on the bench. And you can say I'm wrong, but his body language is like he's standing up there and he's like sighing and he's blowing and he's looking up at the roof. I wonder if there's something like for him not to be moving those two guys apart. There's got to be some reason that he's not doing it, because he's not a dumb guy. You don't become an NHL coach from being a dumb guy. There's got to be something. But
Bobby, I was at game 1, and Matthews and Nylander started that game together. First period, I thought they were great together. All of a sudden, second period comes out, they had to make a change for defensive purposes. Well, now you're not scoring any goals, so how about you go back to that and try something different? I don't understand.
I don't disagree. That's the point of the coach. You're the coach for that reason. Like, I think the one thing that's being lost here, for as much as we want to say these guys are superstars, they're not superstars. Especially Marner, Tavares, Nylander. These guys they're really good players. That's all they are. Superstars are those guys at Edmonton we talked about that they're not looking to get away from anybody. They're just constantly producing. In fact, I told you guys a stat today in the group chat. Draisaitl has 13 goals in 9 games this playoffs. He's got more goals than Marner has. Marner has 9 goals. He has 4 more goals this playoffs than Marner has his entire playoff career. He's just a really good player. That's all he really is. And to boot, again, the mental toughness has to come in as maybe this team's just not mentally tough enough. They're just a bunch of really good, talented players that don't want to get into those dirty areas. They just want to play on the perimeter. And you're not going to win at this time of year. It's about throwing the pucks to the net. It's about going to the net. That's where you get these goals. Like, you guys know. You guys have a coach. That's the first message you preach. Like 90% of goals come from in front of the net. Nowhere else.
So before we write the obituary and where this team goes next, because there still is one game, possibly more, we hope more, is there a way for the Leafs to get back into the series, and what is the path to get to that?
Ooh. I knew this question was going to be asked, and Joel, I've been prepping for it. Number one, they need a power play. But to be to be fair, anybody that's complaining about last game that they didn't get a power play,
they didn't deserve any.
It's because they didn't deserve it, because they weren't generating enough offensive possession for them to create penalties, to create a hook, to create a trip, create a high stick. Nothing. So don't blame Wes McCauley or that whole 0 for 9 stat. That's bullshit. They didn't deserve it. They didn't get it. But special teams does play a big role. So yeah, I'd like to see them, get the power play going if that's something that we can draw from, because that was non-existent, obviously, in the last game. We don't know who's going to play goal.
I'm starting Wall 100%.
Yeah, I know. It's just like I said, we don't know who's going to play. Most likely, it's going to be Wall. Listen, let the kid. I think that they need to go out on the attack and have some sense of there's nothing left. It's balls out to the wall. Balls to the wall. Let him do his thing. Don't try to play overly defensive, and play your game. Like, if they really want to play that game 2 against Tampa at home, the overtime in game, I believe it was game 4, obviously it's there's not a lot of examples, but where they take the play to the opponent, they have to come out like there is no tomorrow, and there really is no tomorrow, right? So I think at this point, what's there left to try on the lines, Joe? We can sit here and say he's got to play this guy. It doesn't really matter anymore. 11-7, 12-6. It doesn't matter. Your big guys got to have most of the minutes. Guys like Alex Kerfoot and David Camp can't be your 2 leading ice time getters after 2 periods. That was an astonishing stat for me, to be quite honest with you. I couldn't believe that one. That's got to change. I look for Matthews and Marner to be at 25 minutes at least for both next game.
But they got to earn it too, Frankie. Like, okay, yeah, Camp shouldn't lead your team in ice time, but he was their best forward last game.
I get
So
it.
on one
Joe.
hand, you can't
Get it,
say, you know, you could criticize a coach for not playing his guys, but then he's got to recognize who's going and who's not going. And you got to put the guys on the ice that are getting the job done. And last game, Camp did. But I agree. Normally, you don't want him playing the most. For me, I'm putting Nylander on Matthews' line. I'm putting Marner with O'Reilly. And I'm putting Tavares as the third line center with, I don't even know, Bunting and Yarncroc, who's been an absolute ghost as well. I think they got to squeak out a win in Game 4, bring it back to Toronto, where they get the home ice, where they've been not successful so far. But if they get it back to home ice, win another, and then all of a sudden you get to Game 6, and now it's Florida who has the pressure at that point, because now the whispers start circulating. Oh, are they going to be the next team to blow that 3-0 lead, right? They may start to squeeze their sticks a little bit. Wall gets a little bit more confident, gets hot. They need that, a hot goalie. And then that's the path that I see.
Yep.
Slim chance, but there is a chance.
Oh, it's very slim.
That's the only benefit of this being 3-0 is now the pressure has totally you've just now there's no pressure on the Leafs at this point. You came into the series and it's like all the pressure was on Toronto. Now it's like completely flipped. Now it's all in Florida. Like now you've got to close it out. I don't care what seed you are. You got a 3-0 lead. Gio's got to play better. Like he can't.
He played 7 minutes last game.
He played 7 minutes, but he's not earning minutes. Like he looks awful out there. He's got to be better because you can't have.
Bobby, let's be honest. If Gio wasn't Gio, he'd be scratched. He wouldn't be playing.
Yeah.
He's got to play. Like you've got to get minutes from somebody other than Hall or McCabe because those guys are just they're killing you, and they've got to find a way to slow down the Florida forecheck. It's gonna kill them with taking away the time and space on these D. If I'm a coach, I might consider maybe just telling the D, hey, high glass every time, and then we'll try to fight for the puck in the neutral zone. Because I think that forecheck. I don't think we gave Florida enough credit. They're very fast. Like I was surprised with how fast they're playing.
That also comes with confidence.
It does, of course. They're ripping around out there. But I think that's the issue. This D core is really struggling, and I think it's just keep it simple. Again, I thought that the game plan to start last game was wonderful, and it was working at times. So you can't play in your own zone, and especially if Wall's there. I think you got to kind of make it as easy on him as possible.
I just want to add. I think one thing, and maybe I'm being a little, I'm asking too much here, but. You know what they need? They need to blow the friggin' doors off of Florida. They don't need a 2-1 win, although we'll take it. 100% we'll take it. They need a convincing 5-1, 6-2, something where not only is it a win, but like Bobrovsky, they get like 5 or 6 past Bobrovsky. You know what I mean? Like they got to try to change that to get into their heads little by little. So like a 3-2 overtime game is great and all, but like Florida still has them by the nuts going back to Toronto. You know what I mean? So I think they need like a statement game where it's just like, kind of what Vegas is doing to Edmonton, as we're doing it right now. So
it seems like every team's been able to do it.
Yeah.
Jersey did it to Carolina last game. Seattle did it to Dallas last night as well.
Yep.
What was the other one? Oh,
Listen,
Edmonton did it to Vegas, and then now Vegas is doing it to Edmonton. So but do you have confidence that the Leafs can do that at this point? I don't. I think they got to squeak it out. I think Wall's going to have to play really well. And then maybe Game 5, they have one of those games. But
they got to get bounces. They're not going to win this series unless they get bounces now.
Yeah, and Florida's getting them. They're definitely getting those.
Look at that tying goal off the butt.
Yep.
Of Verhaeghe,
Getting
right?
pucks on net.
That's it.
Listen, I'm not ready to do this postmortem.
No, that's why I was going to where do they go from here? We'll save all that. I got my notes running already.
Oh, yes.
Who needs to go?
Yes.
Needs to stay. That's going to be a doozy of an episode.
Yes.
The annual tradition, the Leafs postmortem.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
There you go. All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button, and you just got to throw your hands up in the air with this team. I don't know what else to say. I already got my Blue Jay top on. That's the annual tradition for Leaf fans. You get the Blue Jays gear ready as soon as you know the time is coming. Look, Bobby, same thing. So there you go.
It's baseball season.
All right, everybody, have a great night. And let's go Leafs.